Welcome to another edition of the Hot Air Sports Podcast with me, Macca, and my good mate Mahona. How are you this week, bud?
Yeah, mate, still confined to the house, under house arrest up here in Auckland, but, doing my best to get through it, ploughing a smile on my face and getting through this day one more time, man. Hopefully we'll be out of this by this time next week, but who knows? The best we can do is go and get vaccinated, mate. I got vaccinated last week. I encourage everyone to do the same.
Quite right. It's, it must be about 2 or 3 weeks since I got my second shot, so feeling fantastic. The internet's working unbelievably well.
Amazing, isn't it?
And yeah. And I'm sure the government knows my every move now.
Absolutely. And the two of us can definitely endorse two little pricks.
Quite right. Yes,
all right.
On the ball there. Speaking of on the ball, we start with our big issues of the week. And Wellington Phoenix central defender Stephen Taylor is retired effective immediately from football, just days after being named team captain. After what could only be described as bad decision-making by the club, Taylor was disappointed to only be offered a one-year deal at the end of last season, in a decision that tests belief given what the former Premier League stalwart has done for the club. Friend of the show and sports writer Jason Pine has been saying it's a major indictment on those making the football decisions at the club, and this Taylor retiring was entirely preventable. What do you have to say about that?
Mate, interesting article by Piney. Actually, I urge everyone to go and read that. That's on the New Zealand Herald site. I don't understand. I just don't understand what's going on here. I mean, the guy's retired. Has he retired? Yet he was going to play one more season and he wanted 2, but they wouldn't give him 2. And it wasn't about money. And he was happy to be here. And he came back, actually, because to help the club out last year, and he did all that, and now the club can't even help him out with an extra year. I don't understand. Can the guy still play football? Is he still good enough to play in the A-League? He's old enough. He's a leader. What more do we want? We need someone like that. The Phoenix needs someone like that. So I would have thought it was a no-brainer, but obviously the people at the top of the Phoenix organization, maybe they don't have any. What's going on, Macca? What's going on?
Yeah, I just think it's another case of a administrator sitting behind a desk doing the accounting and saying,
this guy's getting paid too much.
When 1 + 3 = 4, and I just don't know. I've no idea how good he is on the park or whether I've never met the guy, but I think we should only offer him 1 year.
Yeah, Moneyball can work, can't it? It can work. Moneyball can work. But not at those sort of levels, in the A-League, you got to take what you can get. And he would have been, for me, I think that he's great quality for the Phoenix. He has been great value. He's a leader. He offers everything we need. So I don't know.
You look at last season when he came back, the Phoenix went 11-0.
They got better. So God knows who's going to lead the Phoenix this season, mate. Who knows? Maybe they'll bring back Andrew Durante. I mean, they looked after him, didn't they? They looked after him, and he couldn't run at the end. So I don't know.
I actually heard a wee rumor the other day that it's the same person that decided that Taylor only should be given a 1-year contract was the person that designed the new Sanzar Super Rugby competition for next year.
Give him a pay rise. Making some great decisions. Great decision. Nah, that's a ridiculous decision. Sort it out. I just hope they make some signings. I mean, who's going to play for them? I mean, don't know who's going to
bring anybody into the country, can they?
No, so it's going to be Birkenhead United playing for the Phoenix this year, is it? I got no idea. Anyway, bad decision. Well, it's not only league players in trouble, mate, as Wellington rugby flanker Duplessis Karifi was fined by police this week for holding a party. He's having a party under level 2. How dare he? At his home. Oh, it was a level 4 lockdown party. Was it level 4?
Yeah, level 4.
He was under. Oh, well, that's terrible. Karifi was stripped of the Wellington captaincy after he and his partner, Northern Stars netballer Mila Rielu Buchanan, was found to have hosted a party at their Pororua home while also visiting a gathering in Tatahi Bay. In August, Karifi claims they were not necessarily thinking they were above the law, but rather they just weren't thinking. And that'd be about right, wouldn't it, Macca?
Yeah, it certainly would. You'd think, that previous situations in other sports, you might have just had a wee think about what you were doing. Everybody's stuck at home, and you decide
I ain't seen my kids. I ain't seen my kids for over a month, mate. But meanwhile, Duplessis can go have a party.
Yeah, exactly, and attend one as well.
Yeah, I mean, especially people in the public eye. You'd think there'd be enough. There'd be enough advice handed out to people, these professional sports people. Yeah. There is about every other facet of life, about dealing with the media. Oh, don't say that. That could be misconstrued. Every single media interview we hear from these people are kind of boring, and yet they still feel that they know a little bit better than all of us and they can go and have a party. Silly, silly boy. Yep.
And you mentioned at the top of that story that it's not only league players that have been playing up, but some of our league players have been playing up, haven't they?
Who's that?
More rugby league players in the news for the wrong reasons after season-ending parties get out of control, with Warriors rookie Reece Walsh in trouble with the Gold Coast police. Having cocaine in his pocket, while Kiwi hooker Brandon Smith is videoed at a party with Storm teammates allegedly taking cocaine too. Will league players ever learn? It appears Storm great Cameron Smith doesn't think so. Smith described the actions of the players as dumb. They had made a poor choice. These boys know the rules, he said. It's illegal in society and within the game of rugby league, Smith said on Melbourne radio. I'd like to think they're smarter than the way they've acted to allow outsiders into a room and they've got phones out filming. It's mind-boggling to see these guys making these poor choices. And I mean, it was all started off with Reece Walsh. He made a poor choice. The police told him to leave the Gold Coast nightclub. But what does he do? Comes back. And then gets into trouble.
To be fair, mate, look, this is a wider problem than rugby league. It's a wider problem than all sport. It's a societal problem. These are young guys, cashed up, lots of people around them. And this sort of stuff's going to happen, man. I mean, it is just going to happen. There's going to be guys like Cameron Smith that are not going to be tempted by it. They're going to be the ultimate professionals and never have a problem. But you're still going to have these problems occur. These are young guys with lots of money, and this is what they do in their time off. And if you can bury your head in the sand and say, hey, look, I haven't, those without sin cast the first stone. I just think, they're human beings. Reece Walsh is 19, for God's sakes. Look, he made a mistake, but it's not the end of the world. He'll come through it. He'll grow up. He'll get better for it. I mean, Brandon Smith, what a bloody idiot. But look, the Kiwi captain was doing this a few years ago as well. No one's immune to it these days. It's right the way through society and not just sports. I don't forgive them. I think they're bloody stupid, but I'm not going to condemn them for all time and say, they shouldn't be, that's it. It's for ban them forever.
Yeah, and I mean, it goes back to exactly what you just said about Duplessis Kirifi. Where are the advisors? Where are the minders? Where are the
that's probably more of a concern.
Advice?
Yeah, that's more of a concern, isn't it? Who are they surrounding themselves with?
Oh, exactly. And, do the clubs need to hire minders for players?
Yeah. I mean, you'd like to think that they're adults enough. You'd like to think that the older players will be leading the younger players. Half the thing with the Warriors, though, I mean, how the fuck are they? Sorry, excuse me. How the hell are they supposed to? How are they supposed to track their players when half of them are in New Zealand, half of them in Australia? They don't even have a base in this country. I mean, look, this sort of thing happens. Young players make mistakes. It's a working class sport. They're playing a gladiatorial game. They're young, they're dumb, they're full of cash, and mistakes will happen.
I agree with you. It's not just a league problem. It's a societal problem in general. It's just that these kids, they're superstars, and others look up to them. You're a 50-year-old man, and you look up to somebody like Reece Walsh.
Absolutely,
he's a great player.
Yeah.
But then you just the disappointment when they do something stupid. It's just sort of like.
But it doesn't surprise me. It's not surprising though. Yes, I admire what they do on the field, but when they make mistakes off the field, I am not surprised. I am not surprised one little bit these days, mate. It's just actually I'd be surprised if these things didn't happen. on the off. If we got all the way through the NRL off season and nothing happened, I'd think something's going on here. There's a cover up involved, or something's going on. It hasn't been reported on. So it'd be more unusual for it to not happen. Hey, man, on the last podcast, we talked about sports stars missing out on MIQ spots and claims they weren't being treated fairly. And since then, of course, we did sort of glance over this last week. Israel Adesanya, MMA fighter, of course, has announced that he's moving to the US. We suggested that might be a move for him last week, didn't we? I mean, as much as City Kickboxing, we want them to stay here, be representative for New Zealand. But I mean, it is just going to work better for them. Fellow fighter Dan Hooker claims he and Adesanya are just too big for little old New Zealand. Multi-sport athlete Braden Curry and golfer Ryan Fox have both finally secured spots in managed isolation this week, yet Curry is still threatening to leave New Zealand, and triathlete Hayden Wild now says he won't be able to come home until after next year's Commonwealth Games. Tennis player Michael Venus is considering taking legal action against the government, and this week the government announced new procedures for those who need to travel overseas for work, which may now help sports people who compete around the world. It's a tough old go being a professional sports person in 2022 with COVID and everything, isn't it, mate?
Oh, absolutely. I look at other sports people that play around the world, and, even Stephen Adams said the other day, this was the first off season that he hasn't come home, but it didn't particularly bother him. He's based in the States now until he retires. You look at all the other sports people overseas, they're basically living overseas anyway. So, it's a bloody long way to come back. Hayden Wild, I'm sorry, pal, if you can't come home and have a party with your mates just to celebrate your medal. I mean, you're going to be overseas the best part of the next 12 months anyway, competing. So, I mean, he's only going to come home for a couple of weeks.
I mean, there has been a lot of talk, hasn't there, about cricketers and rugby players getting those spots, which may not be fair. But really the only sports in New Zealand that you can compete in and professionally make a living and live in this country are cricket, rugby, netball, and rugby league, aren't they? Yeah. I mean, those are the sports where you can compete in New Zealand, make some coin, maybe travel to Australia, New Zealand, Australia, but you don't really need to be offshore. Just about every other sport, I mean, you have to be overseas, don't you?
Yeah,
you have to be,
exactly.
To be competing on a world stage, to be competing at any level, you have to be overseas. So I just think, like you said, it's just going to be the reality of a professional sportsman in 2022 that really you're going to have to base yourself offshore. Yeah. Doesn't mean that you're not that you're not a Kiwi. You can still be a Kiwi. You can still represent. Stephen Adams is.
You look at other golfers that have come and gone, New Zealand golfers. Michael Campbell, he never lived in New Zealand when he was playing.
No.
And I mean, Ryan Fox has actually cut his season short because he's managed to get an MIQ spot. So I mean,
he's made a sacrifice.
Made a sacrifice.
Yeah, exactly.
And other tennis players, Brett Stephen, he never lived in New Zealand.
No,
he was competing overseas.
To be fair, most of them live in Monaco or the Virgin Islands or somewhere like that, so they get other benefits, don't they? Other
tax
little
breaks.
benefits, exactly, where they don't have to.
I did have to chuckle because the Currys, Braden Curry and his wife, considering moving to Australia. I don't think it's going to be any different over there, love. No, I think you just got to get vaccinated. Vaccination, that's the answer, mate. Just get vaccinated. Basketball's NBA is the latest sport under the vaccine spotlight. Speaking of vaccinations, as the season approaches, Monday's media session in advance of training camps, about a dozen of the 32 teams claim they are either fully vaccinated now or will be before the season, while league-wide the rate is believed to be around 90% and climbing. There's no hard and fast rule on vaccinations, but non-vaccinated players and staff will face tests on all practice and travel days and at least one on game days, while those that have had both jabs will not be tested so often. In some states, such as New York, players who chose not to be vaccinated will need to apply for an exemption, something already declined to Golden State's Andrew Wiggins, as San Francisco has the same rules, and this will affect Nets star Kyrie Irving, who has stated he may not play home games this season. You think they're on the right track in the NBA, Macca? Well, if they can get everybody vaccinated, but you're always going to have
the odd one
or two that don't want to do it because it's the principle of the matter.
That's right.
It's not because they believe there's anything wrong with the vaccine. It's the
It's
principle.
human rights. Human rights.
Yourself.
The thing is, human rights are one thing. Human rights definitely exist when we're cruising through this planet, when there's nothing happening. But when pandemics, war, things like this happen, sorry, mate, your human rights, they're at the back of the queue.
Exactly.
That's just the way it goes, eh? They're doing exactly what we need to do. 100% vaccination, and they can carry on and do whatever they want. And I mean, we're going to have to get a booster shot. Vaccination. What is wrong with vaccinations? I just do not understand. Mate, I had my first vaccination as a 6-month-old. I had them all the way through as a kid.
Likewise.
All the way through, from polio, for all sorts of stuff. Never really had a debate about it with anyone. Everyone just said, you got to have it. Otherwise, you're going to get some sort of deadly disease that'll kill you. I'll take the injection and a sore arm for a day. And now, in 2022, when we've got so much technology and so much science, all of a sudden, vaccination's a thing.
Absolutely. I mean, we've had our rights bloody stamped on for years. I want to drive on the right side of the road. Yet everybody tells me I have to drive on the left-hand side of the road.
Yeah, I want to go through the red lights and stop at the green ones.
Quite right indeed. And people eat McDonald's burgers and KFC.
And complain about getting fat.
And they complain about and now they complain about a vaccine because they don't know what's in it. Well, do you know what's in your McDonald's burger? Just ask Jamie Oliver.
Yeah, mate. Ignorance is bliss, isn't it? Anyway, get vaccinated. I think is the message here from the Hot Air Sports podcast. We don't suffer fools, and we don't suffer the unvaccinated either.
Go and visit that shot bro bus.
Exactly.
In a major announcement earlier this week, British and Irish Lions coach Warren Gatland has effectively moved sideways to allow Clayton McMillan to stay on as head coach of the Chiefs for next year's Super Rugby Pacifica competition. McMillan did an absolutely fantastic job with the franchise during Gatland's absence, and the latter will take up a new director of rugby post, much along the lines of how English clubs operate. Although it has been widely rumoured that Gatland lost the changing room towards the end of the 2020 season when the Chiefs didn't win a game, when his mind started wandering towards preparing for this year's Lions tour of South Africa. It's an interesting sideways move. What do you reckon the responsibilities of the director of rugby will be?
Maybe we should ask Graham Henry. He seems to be floating around the world doing these sorts of jobs. I don't know. It's hard to know. I mean, you see this sort of thing work where they have a director of football clubs, but football clubs are completely different. They're working on a worldwide stage. You got worldwide scouting networks. It's just a different beast. I don't really know. It's hard to know exactly what a director of football would do.
Yeah, I mean, my good mate Chris Tyndall, he is now high performance manager for the Brumbies, and previously he was high performance manager for the Chiefs, and his role was basically getting players to sign for the Chiefs. So he had a network of scouts that were around the country, and the scouts would come to him saying, this lad in Christchurch looks pretty good. The Crusaders haven't shown any interest in him. I think we should sign him up. So Chris would have a look at video and do all that.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that maybe is what Gatland will do.
So it's more a scouting sort of role?
Well, maybe not scouting itself, but taking in the results from other people doing scouting.
Well, the thing is with Warren Gatland, what age is he? I mean, I suppose he's sort of getting to the age of near retirement anyway, isn't he? I mean, he's just about done everything except coach the All Blacks. So, but I would presume that
he's only a young man, he's only my age.
I presume if he's moving to this role, though, that coaching the All Blacks would be out of the picture going forward.
I think there's a certain chap in Canterbury that's probably going to get in the way of Warren Gatland's ambitions of coaching the All Blacks, don't you think?
Do you think the New Zealand Rugby Union will ever allow a breakdancing coach? I suppose they won't care if we've won the World Cup and he's breakdancing around that, will they?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see anyway. We'll keep an eye on exactly what Warren Gatland's a new role entails.
Yep, so that's our big issues for the week. If there's a big issue that you think we haven't really covered, drop us a comment on Facebook or on the YouTube page, and Tell us what you think are some of the big issues in sport.
Yeah, tell us what you really think.
We'll have a chat about them.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, mate. Should we go to round ball?
Yes, onto the round ball code.
Okay, Liverpool, and more importantly, Mohamed Salah are showing they mean business this season. Salah in absolutely unbelievable goal-scoring form at the moment. He scored his 100th Premier League goal for the Reds and surpassing Steven Gerrard's goal record in the Champions League in the 5-1 win over Porto. I think he's the fastest ever to 100 Premier League goals for the Reds as well. After the Porto game, former Reds striker Dean Saunders angered United supporters when he said on TalkSport Radio, right now, who's better than him? There's Messi, Ronaldo, who are on their own, but right now, they're not as good as Salah. Why the Liverpool brass are holding out on Salah's new contract? This podcast says, just pay the man what he wants. Give the man what he wants.
He is just on absolute fire at the moment.
Yeah.
You can't. Mo Salah running down the wing. You know, and the goals he scored, the first goal he scored against Porto.
Oh,
it sort of rolled across the line as if it was ever going to get in the back of the net.
It was like he was like, oh no, the whistle's gone. We're not playing anymore. Oh, yeah, I'll just put it in the net.
Yeah.
And then Bobby Firmino's little, oh, I'm just going to knock this so that it rolls and it just teases the goalkeeper all the way. He seems to do that all the time, doesn't he?
Quite
but
right.
Mo Salah,
what do you think on paying Mo Salah 450 grand a week?
Yeah, well, it'll completely stuff up our whole wage structure at the club. But if you're ever going to pay anyone the money, that sort of money at Liverpool, it'll have to be him. I mean, and if he keeps doing what he's doing, I mean, he's worth every penny because at the moment he is the best player in the Premier League. He's just phenomenally. He's reminding me this year of when he first came to Liverpool and he scored all those goals. Was that? I think it was 17, 18.
Yeah.
He just scored for fun that season. I think he scored close to 50, 60 goals. He looks like he's going to do it again this season. He's just unplayable at the moment. But the Liverpool team are looking pretty good as well, aren't they, mate? All over the place. So one slight concern is Virgil Van Dijk. I don't know. He's not quite up to what he was prior to his injury.
Yeah. I forget he's had virtually a whole year off, not playing. It's going to take him a couple of months to get back to true Virgil Van Dijk. I mean, he's still imperious in the area.
He is.
There's been a couple of mistakes, but I don't think you can completely blame him for the goals that Liverpool have conceded. And the guy beside him, Joel Matip, is playing well as well. So
absolutely,
long may those two continue.
And Liverpool and Chelsea matching each other for result all the way through. And then, of course, Chelsea having a bit of a loss over the weekend to Manchester City, Liverpool winning, Liverpool drawing 3-3, and Liverpool top of the table, where we should be.
Yes, now the sheriff arrived in Madrid
New
from
sheriff
Moldova and laid down the law with Sheriff Tiraspol to rank as one of the biggest Champions League upsets of all time, beating 11-time winners Real Madrid at their own Bernabeu Stadium, with Sebastian Thill scoring a screamer to win the game. Before the game, the visitors' odds at English bookmaker Betfair, have a look at this.
What was this?
47 to 1.
One game. 47. Did anyone get on it?
Oh, I don't know. Probably not.
Oh, bugger. 47. That guy's, did you see the goal? Did you see the goal that won it?
Absolute screamer.
Absolute beauty. And he's the first scorer of a goal for the people of Luxembourg. He's a Luxembourgian. I think that's what you So the first Luxembourgian scorer in the Premier League. New sheriff in town. Fantastic result. And actually, mate, the Champions League, often the group stages are a little bit of a yawn, aren't they? They're a little bit of a procession. And this year, it's anything but. There's been some really big results, really big upsets.
Yep, absolutely.
And late Cristiano Ronaldo goal yesterday. Oh, weren't they lucky, mate? They were getting smashed.
Yeah.
Against Villarreal in the Champions League has possibly glossed over the Red Devils' poor recent form. That's fine with me, mate. They keep playing like that. They ain't gonna win squat if they keep playing the way they're playing. With the poor recent loss to Swiss side Young Boys, and then followed by the weekend for the loss to Aston Villa, with Bruno Fernandes smashing a late penalty over the bar. I think the ball's still going. It's headed into outer space somewhere.
It landed just outside of Glasgow in Scotland.
He kicked it out of the ground. Landing in other Champions League results as well. Manchester City lost 2-0 to PSG, a Lionel Messi goal. Absolutely fantastic Lionel Messi goal, his first goal for the club. And Chelsea were also beaten, going down 1-0 to Juve. So the Champions League group stages, really some great games.
Yeah, and, you've also got to look at Barcelona. They lost again, got thumped again by Benfica 3-0. I see this morning that Ronald Koeman is on the verge of being sacked.
On the verge. He hasn't gone yet.
No, he hasn't quite gone yet. They reckon he will still be he'll still be managing against Atletico Madrid this weekend in La Liga. But that will be his last game, and they'll be looking for a new boss over the international break. So,
maybe they can take. Look, Real Madrid took the old Everton boss Ancelotti. Barcelona took the old Everton boss Ronald Koeman. So maybe they'll get Rafa. Maybe they'll go back to.
Well, one of the possibilities is Roberto Martinez, who
really
used to coach Everton as well.
Another Everton boss. They just keep going for those Everton bosses. I noticed that Klopp's on their list as well.
Good luck.
Yeah, I reckon. Good try.
Tottenham and Arsenal's seasons have gone through a complete reversal just 6 weeks into the season.
Funny,
the Spurs on a 3-match losing streak after winning the first 3, while Arsenal lost their first 3 without scoring a goal and made it a treble in a row on the weekend, thrashing a listless Spurs 3-1. Whilst Arsenal's Mikel Arteta was definitely the favourite to be the first to be sacked this season, I think that mantle has now been passed to Nuno Espirito Santo.
Yeah, I feel a bit sorry for Nuno, to be fair. I mean, the style just doesn't matching up with Spurs. I can't really see it lasting, especially if they keep playing the way they are. Harry Kane can't score. He just doesn't look really interested, to be fair, and a lot of the other guys are playing terribly. Spurs, though, they've definitely improved. I mean, they've got a hell of a lot better the way they look, but they're celebrating wins against Tottenham. So just wait. Arsenal is celebrating wins against Tottenham. So don't get too excited, Arsenal fans, yet, mate. It's a long way to go. You've won a couple of games. But they are looking better. They are improving. They're a young side. I do like that Emil Smith-Rowe, who plays for Arsenal. He's a very, very good player. I like him a lot. I mean, poor old Tottenham, though. I don't know where they're going to go. Do feel sorry for them.
See how they
went this morning. I think Tottenham were winning 2-0 when I saw last. I don't know what happened to Arsenal.
Yeah, they were winning 4-1 when I last saw them.
They were playing
They're in the Europa Conference League.
Thank you. And they were playing some team from Moldova or something like that.
Yeah, West Ham beat Rapid Vienna 2-0.
Yeah. Celtic
at home went down 4-0 to Bayer Leverkusen.
Ooh, that's no good.
A bad result for Celtic. Where does Leicester? Oh, they lost away 1-0 to Legia Warsaw.
Oh, that's no good either.
They've not had a good start to their European campaign.
No, they often don't. They'll have to show a lot more character. More character.
Brendan will be very proud of their.
A lot more character. A lot more. They'll be very proud. Very proud. All right.
Rugby. A great first 10 minutes, then a 70-minute bore as the Springboks unveiled their exciting new game plan against the All Blacks in last week's 100th test in Townsville, ending up being a forwards battle in between box kicks from Bok halfback Faf de Klerk. While the All Blacks did try to open up the play, constant handling errors thwarted their plans. Man, it was an ugly game, wasn't it?
Mate, I watched, it was so ugly. I mean, I watched the Rugby League because they were both on at the same time. I really enjoyed the game. And then I switched over to the rugby. I really enjoyed the first 5 minutes. And then after that, I was like, why am I bothering to watch this? It was just, mate, if this is the new generation of rugby that the Springboks are unveiling, they're supposed to be the world champs, man. And if they're playing rugby like that.
I know. Here's hoping Saturday's test on the Gold Coast will be a little more enjoyable. Coach Ian Foster's made 5 personnel changes in the starting 15. Luke Jacobson comes into number 8 for Ethan Blackadder, with Adi Savia moving to 7. Brad Weber starts at halfback. We proposed that move last week.
We did.
For TJ Perenara, while Anton Leonard-Brown returns from injury to centre to partner up with David Havili.
I like that.
Rico Ioane goes back to the wing in place of George Bridge, while Sevu Reece keeps Will Jordan out on the right wing. Surprises for me, Jordan out of the squad completely, with both Richie Mo'unga and Damien McKenzie named on the Backs reserve bench.
Yeah, it's a bit strange, eh? Why you'd need both of them, I've got no idea. Jordan, I don't know why. Maybe he's got an injury. Has he got an injury? Is he ill?
There's no mention of it. So
I mean, yeah, that's just crazy. Ethan Blackadder for me played really well last week, didn't he? Man, He was everywhere. He looked like he really looks born for Test rugby, doesn't he, mate? He just looks up for it. So yeah, man. I mean, while we were talking about Luke Jacobson last week, I mean, Ethan Blackadder, wow.
Oh, outstanding. And he's not even a number 7.
No, that was a strange decision. I would have thought they would have moved Artie to 7 and played Satutu at number 8, but they just, that was a strange decision. But wow, what a player, mate. What a player.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I'm not saying Akira Ioane had a bad game last week, but it was just a different type of game.
It was.
He was, because of the way the Springboks played, he was involved in the tight more. So we didn't see him out in the open.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be a hell of a battle between Blackadder and Ioane for that number 6. I think we're very lucky to have both those players. Of course, we have talked about it before. When Akira gets comfortable in a position or in a team, we sometimes don't see the level of performance. So
I'm hoping those days are past.
Yes, we are definitely hoping, because he is a fantastic player.
Oh, absolutely.
Running with the ball in his hand, it almost looks like Colin Meads.
Totally, mate. Totally. And his defense reminds me of Jerome Kino. I mean, he's just a beast. The new Moana Pacifica rugby franchise has named former Crusaders and All Blacks centre and former Highlanders coach Aaron Major as their inaugural coach for 2022. And it's also been revealed their home ground will be Mount Smart Stadium, the home of the Warriors. Well, the Warriors aren't going to be there, so why not? Major's coached at a high level for a number of years and had successful stints in England before returning to coach the Landers, and was involved as assistant coach for Moana Pacifica when they played the New Zealand Maori last year, and has stayed in touch with the group since. Do you think this is a good appointment?
I think it's a very good appointment. Aaron Major's a very good coach, and has done a great job at the Highlanders when he was there. Interesting to also note, it was announced earlier this week, former All Blacks assistant coach Mick Byrne has been named the head coach of the Fijian Drua.
Okay.
Lots of All Blacks experience coaching those two Pacific sides. So
that's good.
It is good. But Major's a very level-headed guy. He's one of those guys that is not a flashy coach. He gets down to the business and does what's needed. So I think it's a good appointment for Moana Pacifica, and also having that experience with their side last year that played the New Zealand Māori. I think it's a good appointment. Beautiful.
The Crusaders have added to their already star-studded backline. Funny this, eh? Signing Taranaki flyer Kini Naholo, the younger brother of former All Black Waisaki. The 22-year-old, been in outstanding form for Taranaki this year, is expected to replace Fijian flyer Manasa Matieli, who will play for the Western Force in 2022. Naholo is going to battle with All Blacks George Bridge, Sevu Reece, Will Jordan, and Brayden Inor. How many do they need? How many outside backs do they need down there? With Leicester Whainganuku for an outside back spot, the Highlanders have been keen on signing Naholo to replace injured Jono Nareki, but were pipped at the post by their northern neighbours. Typical.
Here we go again. You beauty Crusaders.
Typical. All your teams just pick and choose the best players, don't they?
Quite right. I think it's a great signing. I haven't seen much of the younger Naholo, but by all accounts, he's
he's half as good as his brother.
Strong, And the Highlanders, I think, now may be turning their attention to older brother Waisaki, who has been playing for Canterbury in the NPC this year. So
cool.
Could see Naholo back in the blue and gold. You never know.
Waisaki Naholo. It's a good chart. It's one of the better ones down there.
Quite right.
Down there at the zoo. Yeah.
Well, you were talking about being locked down in Auckland. Auckland-based NPC sides are now allowed to assemble in groups of 10 to train for a prospective return to action in coming weeks.
It's half a team almost.
Harbour, Auckland, and Counties Manukau have all been stuck in level 3 and 4 lockdowns, just as Aaron is. so not able to train or play.
No, we just look out our window and look on the TV and go, there it is. That's what we used to be able to do.
Yeah.
Hi, New Zealand.
It's hard going to be training in groups of 10, isn't it?
I don't know what they're doing. Be okay for sevens, but
yeah. Have the backs in one group and the forwards in another.
I don't know how they're going to do it. I really don't. I mean, I suppose you can do some minor contact stuff. I mean, a couple of drills, but it's just difficult, isn't it, mate? Welcome to the world in 2022.
Yep. Oh, exactly, mate. And they'll, at least they can sort of start putting plans together for a hopeful return. And when you look at the where are the results last week? No, they're not going to come up.
No,
they're not going to. No,
well. So we got a bit of catching up to do anyway up here in the north. We'll be playing games every day. It's going to be like the baseball, mate. There'll be a game every second day.
Yeah. What I can tell you is that Wairarapa Bush have had a shocking start to Heartland Championship, getting absolutely thumped in both of their games. 61-17 by South Canterbury. Ooh. And they also got thumped in their first game, 42-10 by Thames Valley.
Oh, it's no good, mate.
Not a good start for the Bush.
Okay, you might have to get on the board there and sort them out, mate.
Quite right.
Do some recruitment. Right. Shall we move to rugby league, mate?
Yes. What's been happening apart from parties going on?
Just like that, mate. We have a 2021 Grand Final this Sunday, 9:30 p.m. at Suncorp Stadium.
Will it be at Suncorp
Stadium? Will it be? At the moment, it will be at Suncorp, 75% capacity at Suncorp, they reckon. But there is an outbreak of COVID there. So if it does happen that they need to move it, it will be moved to Townsville. But Townsville apparently also under lockdown at the moment as well. So God knows where the NRL Grand Final is going to be. But there will be an NRL Grand Final. Whether anyone will see it live is a case in point. But we have the two teams. The South Sydney Rabbitohs are going to play the Penrith Panthers. And on Friday last week, the Rabbits ended Dally M winners Tommy Turbo and Manly seasons 36-16, a clinical dismantling of the Seagulls. Cody Walker and Damien Cook led the charge, and along with Broncos-bound halfback Adam Reynolds, who had a leg injury and didn't kick and was apparently close to not playing. They simply choked the life out of the poor old Seagulls. Coach Wayne Bennett is going to take charge of the Bunnies in his remarkable 10th Grand Final before heading to Queensland next year. Now, there is rumours that he's going to be taking charge of the proposed 17th expansion team from next year. That'll be interesting to see how that finishes, but this is definitely his last game for the Rabbits. So fitting farewells could be on the cards for Reynolds, Bennett, Dane Gagai, Jaden Sewer, and of course, potentially Kiwi Benji Marshall too has been pretty coy about whether he's going to retire. In the second semi-final, as suspected, one for the ages. It was a repeat of last year's grand final, and it didn't let anyone down. This was a great game, unrelenting and brutal contest between the Panthers and the Storm. And the run of low-scoring games involving the Panthers continued 10-6. Despite all their attacking flair, the Panthers have built their finals run on great defence, having only conceded 4 tries in 3 finals games, and now face a chance of revenge against the Bunnies in the grand final. They lost 16-10 to them in round 1 of the finals. Now, Nathan Cleary's been cleared by the match review committee for lifting tackle on Kenny Bromwich, but Tavita Pangai Jr. has been ruled out with a knee injury for the Panthers, and there's also injury fears for Kiwi prop James Fisher-Harris. He faces a last-minute fitness test, as does fullback Dylan Edwards, and there are also doubts over winger Brian Teo. So will Adam Reynolds' last game for the Bunnies produce a grand final ring, or can Bennett win his 8th with his 3rd different club, or can the Panthers fulfill their destiny and overcome the disappointment of last year to win their first in a generation? Bring it on, mate. Grand final time. NRL, what do you reckon?
Oh, you got to go for the Rabbits, don't you?
Yeah, of course you would. No, I'm like, what the heart says Rabbits. I think the Panthers will win. I just think the Panthers have got too much for me. The Dally M Awards were held in Brisbane this week as well to honour the best NRL players of 2021. Tom Trbojevic came the 3rd player in Manly history behind Cliff Lyons, who won in 1990 and 94, and Matt Orford, who won in 2008 to win the award in a record-breaking year. The Dally M team of the year is Tom Trbojevic, Ruben Garrick, Justin Olam, Matt Burton, Brian Teo, Cody Walker, Nathan Cleary, Isaiah Yeo, Viliami Kikau, Isaiah Papali. Why do the Warriors ever let him go? James Fisher-Harris, Brandon Smith, and Payne Haas. Pretty handy team. The team features 6 Panthers who are going to take part in Sunday's grand final. Melbourne Storm mentor Craig Bellamy was named the Dally M Coach of the Year after leading his team to 19 wins in a row and the minor premiership. So there you go, mate. That's what's happening in the NRL. 1 game to go in the 2021 season, and it's the Rabbits against the Panthers in the grand final.
Yeah, well, the thing is, will we see Wayne Bennett smile?
No. Now the odds are very, very long there, mate. Maybe we will in the dressing room afterwards when he doesn't think there's a camera on him.
And he does he'll do a little dance.
do a little tweak.
Do a little dance, have a little fun tonight.
10 grand finals, hey man, that's a hell of a record.
That's not a bad effort from from the old Queenslander.
Yeah.
Queenslander. So yes, no, it'll be. I'm saying the Rabbits, but yeah, you're right. The Panthers may just be too strong. The Rabbits, I think, would probably be playing on a lot of emotion.
Absolutely.
Whereas the Panthers, I think Ivan Cleary will have them very well grounded and all set for a big game. So
absolutely,
I think you might be right. I think my heart's saying Rabbits, but I think my head's saying the Panthers. So
that's exactly the same with me. I've got a bit of a value bet for you later on.
I look forward to hearing
later on in the show on the grand final.
Well, after nearly 162 games, we're coming down to the business end of the baseball season. And
will that be enough games? Is the question.
Boy, oh boy, it's coming down to the wires. This is the time I really get excited about baseball. Yeah, I enjoy the season and the smiles in April when the season finally begins, and then when your team's not performing so well and you get down a bit, and and then the summer months arrive in the States and the players start performing a bit better, and
then you get the All-Star game and the All-Star break.
The All-Star game, the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Lots of news goes on in July, of course. And then it's down to August and September, the business end of the season, and boy, it's really coming to fruition this year.
Isn't it, mate? What an awesome season this year's been.
Only 2 teams have locked in playoff spots in the American League. Tampa Bay have secured the Eastern Division. They've already won that. And the White Sox have secured the Central Division. Tampa Bay are actually going to go in to the playoffs with the best, with home advantage right throughout the playoff series until it comes to the World Series. They're not going to be... have a home advantage in that one because unless San Francisco and the Dodgers don't make it.
That's unbelievable that we're coming down to this many games. There's teams that have won over 100 games and they're still not guaranteed to be in the playoffs. Unbelievable.
Yeah, those 2 teams are guaranteed in the playoffs. They just haven't secured what order.
Well, they may have to go into a wild card though, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. But Tampa Bay Rays, they just constantly astound year after year. They've got one of the lowest payrolls in baseball.
Yeah, how do they do it?
Look at the Yankees and the Dodgers, who are 220 million plus annual wage bills.
Crazy.
Tampa Bay is less than 100.
That's nuts. How do they do it? Is it money? Is it all Moneyball?
A lot of it is, securing really good free agents on 1 or 2 year deals. They had Charlie Morton in previous years, who's ended up at the Braves. But they've got Tyler Glasnow, who's still under control. He's a great pitcher, and picking up trade bargains like Nelson Cruz, from Minnesota at the trade deadline, and just some of their homegrown players. None of them are averaging 300 or going to win 20 games pitching. But they all just do their bit when they need to. They're never going to go out there and thrash every team every week. They win more games by 1 or 2 runs than any other team in baseball.
Yeah. They just get it. They just get the job done.
They get the job done. They do the basics very well. They've got 4 games to go, and you'll still yet win 100 games. They've won 98 so far with 4 games to go. And the White Sox, they've had a great season too. They were Tony La Russa, veteran manager, one of the longest serving managers in baseball, still going around. He's done a great job with the White Sox. They recruited very well over the off season, picked up some good players in trades, and have still got young players on their books. Now the wild card race, this is what it's coming down to. You've got the Yankees, 90 wins, 68 losses. Boston, 89 wins, 69 losses. Seattle have really charged at the end. They've won games. They've won 9 of their last 10 games.
I know.
They're only half a game outside of a playoff spot.
They're going great guns, mate. They've been going well for the last month, really. They have.
And then just another half a game back, you've got the Blue Jays, who the Yankees are playing at the moment. And currently, they're 1-1 in their 3-game series. So going into today's game, Yankees killed them in game 1, but then came back and won 6-5 yesterday, the Blue Jays. So a Yankees win would have almost put the Blue Jays out of contention.
It would have, but but that guy did it again, didn't he? Bo
Bichette did the job. Son of Slugger, Dante Bichette. He's hit 2 homers yesterday in 3 hits. And absolute bombs. The Yankees have turned their season around.
They have. After turning it around. You guys have basically been driving up a mountain all bloody season, haven't you?
They've had more turnarounds than a Monte Carlo hillside.
Exactly.
As I say, Tampa Bay and White Sox are the only ones that have qualified so far. The Astros, the cheating Houston Astros, should qualify today if they win their game, and that would wrap up the West for them. In the National League, it's a bit more clear-cut. The Atlanta Braves are very close to securing the National League East.
Yeah, Max Scherzer for them. God. I mean, what a pickup he was.
The Dodgers.
Max Scherzer for the Dodgers. I mean,
he's been unbelievable. I mean, so the Dodgers are in. They've secured home advantage in the wild card.
Yeah.
Although could swap with the Giants depending on how those last 4 games go.
Those 2 teams have been battling it out.
After winning 17 games in a row, finally lost yesterday to the Milwaukee Brewers, and then turned around and beat the Brewers again this morning. So,
so they've won in a row.
They've secured the 2nd wild card spot.
Wow, what a run they've been on. And the Brewers are going good too.
The Brewers are playing great baseball. Yeah. So they've secured the Central already. And just we touched on it briefly about the Yankees turnaround. I'm going to talk about the Yankees because they're my team.
Of course you are.
But going into these last 3 series, they had 3 games in Boston, 3 games in Toronto, and then go back to Yankee Stadium for 3 games against Tampa. And I said with 9 games to go, they needed to win 6 of those to qualify for the playoffs.
You did.
And they swept Boston.
So they grabbed the first 3.
On the back of some unbelievable late hitting in some games, which I'll talk about a bit later. And took the first game in Toronto, which meant they'd won 6
that's 4. That's 4 out of the 4 out of the 6 you need.
4 out of the 6
to win. Yep.
Losing yesterday and again playing Toronto today. All Yankee fans are hoping that Tampa Bay, because they've already secured their status as top qualifier in the American League, maybe will rest some of their key players on the visit to New York.
Yes.
But knowing Tampa, that won't happen. They just don't do that. They just go out there and play their best baseball.
Yeah, so they're just going to win.
Yep, they're up against it. Boston, they have got they're in the midst of a series against the Orioles. The Orioles smashed them in game 1 of that series, 6-3, and then Boston turned around and beat them 6-0 yesterday. So the 3rd game of that series, you would expect Boston to win that. And then they have a 3-match series against the Washington Nationals, which you would expect them to win
at least.
that.
Yeah.
And the Blue Jays, their last series is the Orioles. Who've already lost 107 games. So you'd
expect them to win them.
You'd expect them to win at least 2 out of the 3. So, and you also look at the Mariners. They've got a series coming up against the Angels, who you would expect them to.
And Otahi's not going to be pitching either.
No, he's just hitting.
Which is
Mariners,
good.
Who they got today? They have got nobody. They've got a day off today.
No, I noticed that. Yeah, we're not playing today.
So, yeah, coming down to it, and in the wild card, theoretically, you could end up having 4 teams equal.
Yeah.
The way the standings are.
It's what are they going to do if it's 4 teams equal?
So
Toss
if you've
a coin.
got 4 teams equal, it comes down to the season series
against each other. Sounds like paper, rock, scissors.
Oh, it is, mate. It is.
You beat me, I beat him, he beat you.
No, and of those season series, the only one I know for a fact is that Boston won 10 games of the 19 against the Yankees. So if it comes down to a playoff between those two, Boston would go through.
So by this time next week, it would have just about all wrapped up. Is that correct?
Oh, we'll be into the playoffs by this time.
We'll be into the playoffs.
There's only 4 days left of the regular season. That's all over by Tuesday. And so, depending on teams being equal, the wild cards games are due to start Tuesday US time, so New Zealand time on Wednesday. Okay. Although the National League wild card game is set down for Monday, I think.
Okay. Monday our time? Or no, Monday their time. Tuesday Monday our time. Okay.
So yes, it'll be.
So by this time next week, the Yankees could be all done and dusted, Macca. Eh? They could done.
Very well be, and Aaron Boone will be out of a job.
What about the Kiwis over in the States, mate?
They're all finished.
Finished. They're all done.
Week. Yeah.
Yep.
So
all right. So it's just major league stuff.
It is, and as I mentioned, it's the exciting time of the season.
It is, man. Roll on. Okay, before we go, we got a few other things we want to talk about. Rest in peace, Waka Nathan, All Black number 627. Waka played 23 matches, including 14 tests for the All Blacks, and he was never on a losing side in any of those 14 games. He made his debut for Auckland at just 18 years old and played 88 games for the Blue and White Hoops, scoring 51 points. He was a former president of the Auckland Rugby Union, patron of the Auckland Rugby Board, and an Auckland Rugby Life member, an Otahu College Old Boy and Life member for the Otahu Rugby Club. He was often spotted around Onehunga as well, at the Onehunga Workingmen's Club behind the bar there. He's a very lovely man. He debuted for the All Blacks in 1962 on a tour of Australia. We played both tests against the Wallabies, was a member of the All Blacks tour of Britain in 1963-64, and despite having a broken jaw, he scored 11 tries in 15 matches. The late Sir Colin Meads described him as the most virile runner with the ball in hand. After retiring from playing, he went on to become a New Zealand Maori selector between 71 and 77, managed the New Zealand Maori on their tour of Wales in 1982, was given the honour of New Zealand Rugby to run onto the field to start proceedings for the inaugural Rugby World Cup in 1987. And he was honoured by the Auckland Rugby for his commitment and devotion to the union as a player and administrator with the creation of the Waka Nathan Challenge Cup, which Auckland Rugby's premier clubs compete for. Rest in peace, Waka Nathan. He was a hell of a nice guy, a beautiful smile as well. And I did notice in all the coverage of him, and no one ever called him the Black Panther. I don't know whether we're allowed to call him the Black Panther now. But that's what he was known as. That was his nickname. He was the Black Panther. So I'm going to say rest in peace to the Black Panther. Whether that's correct or not in 2022, I don't care. Saluting the big man.
Well, we've had a movie named Black Panther, haven't we? So I'm pretty sure we can refer to Waka by the nickname he was given.
Yeah, lovely man though.
Another RIP, Sir Roger Hunt. While he was never knighted, only receiving an MBE in 2000, Hunt was knighted by Liverpool's Cop. In later years, Hunt quipped that it was more important to be knighted by the Cop than by the country. He was the key figure in Sir Alf Ramsey's World Cup winning team, playing alongside hat-trick hero Sir Geoff Hurst, as well as keeping legendary scorer Jimmy Greaves out of the final lineup. Liverpool's second ever greatest scorer behind Ian Rush, Hunt scored 285 goals in all competitions in 492 games between 1958 and 1969, and another 24 goals in 76 games for Bolton Wanderers at the end of his career. For England, he played only 38 times for his country, scoring 18 times, better than a goal every 2 games, and also had the distinction of scoring the very first goal on the BBC's Match of the Day programme.
Okay.
A Saturday afternoon regular in the 60s, 70s and 80s. Hunt passed away earlier this week, aged 83. There are now only 3 remaining survivors from the 1966 World Cup winning lineup. Fullback George Cohen, whose nephew Ben was well known as a rugby player, played for England on the wing. Sir Bobby Charlton, of course, and hat-trick hero Sir Geoff Hurst. So rest in peace, Roger Hunt.
Rest in peace, Roger Hunt. The cool story I heard about him from all the stories I've heard about him over the last week on his sad passing was the fact that he was standing on the goal line when England scored that goal in extra time to win the World Cup, where the ball may have crossed the line, maybe didn't cross the line, etc. And the Russian touchy flagged it and said it had crossed the line. The reason that was given afterwards that the ball definitely did touch the line was that he was on the line and he would have definitely knocked the ball in if it hadn't crossed the line. But he saw it cross the line, and that was good enough for everyone else. So, Sir Roger Hunt, rest in peace.
Quite right. On a nicer note, congratulations to the Melbourne Demons, who after a 57-year wait have won the AFL Championship after thrashing the Western Bulldogs by 79 points in last weekend's final in Perth. Thanks to the COVID pandemic, the final was held outside of Melbourne for the first time ever. And
Wow.
Thousands of long-suffering Demons fans would have had to watch the final on their couches instead of the traditional MCG. But I'm sure none of them will be complaining about the result. And as we've heard from the Victorian Premier, maybe there were a few super spreader events at people's houses that shouldn't have gone.
Oh, no. So that was the grand final.
That was the grand final.
I didn't even hear anything about it. Normally, there's lots of press about it. Normally, there's all that sort of stuff. Of course, it's it's one of the biggest days in the Australian sporting calendar. They get over 100,000 at the MCG. It's a big party day.
Yep.
I guess COVID sort of pissed on that parade a little bit, didn't it? And I do feel sorry for those poor old Demons. It's a bit like the Liverpool fans, so long suffering, and then we finally win a Premier League and can't celebrate in front of our fans. It's a little bit sad, but good on the Demons for finally getting over the line. Kiwi racing driver Scott Mclaughlin has won the Indycar's Rookie of the Year title after an 11th place finish at Long Beach last weekend, giving him an overall placing of 13th in his first season at Indycar. He got one podium finish in Texas earlier in the year. He held off former Formula One driver Romain Grosjean for the title. He actually finished very strongly. I think he got a podium on the second to last race of the season, that Romain Grosjean. After multiple Australasian supercar titles before heading stateside, Scotty Mclaughlin also won the Indianapolis 500 Rookie Award and will compete in December's Repco Bathurst 1000. He's coming back for the big race at
the great race.
Bathurst, the great race at Bathurst. So I look forward to see what Scott McLaughlin's learnt in his travels to IndyCar when he comes back here to Bathurst.
Yeah, I think he's done pretty well over there.
Yes,
Yeah, a lot of people weren't quite sure about how he would get on, but capturing that Rookie of the Year title, there were some pretty good rookies in that.
Mate, when you compare him to someone like Jimmy Johnson, who came from NASCAR, and there was all this hype about him, and Jimmy Johnson could hardly go around the track one time without crashing. Honestly, he was hopeless. He was back of every field. So, Scotty McLaughlin, I expect him to improve. It'll be interesting to see whether he'll improve next season. Yeah.
Yep.
Be interesting to see how he goes. Scott Dixon didn't have a great season. He started well.
Yeah, he started well. Didn't quite finish as well as he would have liked to have.
No. Okay, we're nearly at the end of the podcast. Just before we go, though, we've got our hot air best bet of the week. So we're looking for value bets here, okay? These are not certainties, but this is something to get you a little bit of value if you're looking to have a bit of a punt this weekend. And for me...
How did last week's one go?
I think you picked the All Blacks by 1-12, didn't you?
I may have, yes.
If you got on that, you're in the money. Good on you. Let's see if we can get in the money again. I'm going to go Penrith 1-12, $2.75 in the grand final. I think that's pretty good money. Or if you don't want to bet on either side, you want to remain impartial, a bit of value on Nathan Cleary or Cody Walker to win the Clive Churchill medal. That's paying $2.50 at the TAB. And I think regardless, whoever has the greatest game, probably one of those guys will win the Clive Churchill. So, that's some good value for you. Cody Walker or Nathan Cleary to win the Clive Churchill medal and the NRL Grand Final, $2.50 at the TAB.
Marvellous. Look forward to that. Good week, bad week. Good week. You mentioned it before in your league update. Tom Trebojevic winning the Dally M medal for the NRL despite losing the semi-final. Another guy who's had a good week is Yankee slugger Giancarlo Stanton. In 3 games against the Boston Red Sox, he hit 3 absolutely massive
moonshots. That one that went out you think about the green wall at
Green
Fenway.
Monster.
They've got like a big sign on top of the green wall. This went over the sign.
Well, 2 of them cleared signs.
Massive. It was just enormous. I don't think I've ever seen one that big, ever.
I think the baseball landed in the same spot as Bruno Fernandes' penalty.
Good call, mate. Good call.
And bad week, I touched on it before. Barcelona manager, well, soon to be ex-manager, Ronald Koeman, after his side suffered their second thrashing in Champions League action, losing 3-0 to Benfica after earlier losing 5-0 to Bayern Munich.
What are they going to do?
Well, the fans want Xavi to be installed as the manager, but
who's he going to manage though? They need players, unless they get someone like Klopp there who can, Xavi, yes, he was a great player, but how is he going to work magic when they haven't got quality players to coach? It's hard to feel sorry for Barcelona when they've just been plucking the top talent from clubs all over the place. But no, like I said, it's hard to feel sorry for them.
It's sort of all turned to custard since they were one of the clubs trying to form the European Super League, isn't it?
But yeah.
Everything's sort of gone downhill from there.
It has a bit, yeah. Desperation, eh?
Yeah.
And it's not much better for Real Madrid either.
No.
Glory days.
Yeah.
All right.
Good. Well, that's about it.
That's another week of the Hot Air Sports Podcast. Punters, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure you drop us a like, make a comment. Let us, get involved, get interactive with us. Make a comment. We will promise we'll mention your name on next week's podcast, provided you say something nice. Maybe if you say something horrible too, we might throw a bit of abuse back at you. Anyway, until next week, it's good night from me.
And it's goodbye from me. And don't forget, get vaccinated.